This guy's the MVP. It was when the AFL, NFL came together. Curt Gowdy on the mic. NBC, the Orange Bowl, Miami, 1969. That was the game that launched the National Football League. Right, Steve Higgins?
It changed everything. It changed the perception of the league, the players. Leading up to the Super Bowl, they were playing exhibition games with the NFL against the AFL. And the NFL players were totally against it. They thought that was ridiculous that they would have to play AFL teams. Alex Karras spoke out, Dick Butkus spoke out, and they just thought the AFL was an inferior league. And even though the first two Super Bowls were played, Kansas City and the Raiders did a pretty good job against Green Bay. Green Bay was great. They still thought, because AFL lost the first two, and the perception was that they didn't belong on the same field with the NFL. And that's the big thing that Super Bowl III changed. Before you even get to the reconfiguration of the NFL, which it definitely did, it changed the perception that there are other leagues out there. This other league can compete. And the NFL was looking to expand, early, but they didn't think it would happen that quick until Joe worked his magic.
What did Lombardi say about Namath? You told me.
Vince Lombardi studied film on Joe pretty extensively in the late 60s. And he said publicly, and I've seen a couple broadcasts on this, that Joe Namath was the most perfect passer he'd ever seen. Okay, people forget how good this man was. I mean, to win a Super Bowl with the Jets, look at what they've done since, this franchise. And it tells you the magnitude of what he did, okay? And he did it all in one leg. Okay, he should have never even been in the league. Okay, his knee was so bad in the mid-60s, the doctor says you might have 4 years of pro ball. Okay, and when you look at Joe's career, his first 5 years was as good as anyone's. Okay, but then that injury it wouldn't go away. In the second half of his career, he wasn't as effective. He was hurt a lot. He still had good years, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't the mega star he was in the 60s.
Here's the other thing about this big game number 3. Joe didn't throw a touchdown pass.
Oh.
Talk about this.
Well, that's the thing. When you rate quarterbacks today, people, you want to see a big quarterback that just throws. That's all they worry about is throwing. But in Joe's day, there was a lot of components that made up a quarterback. Okay, here's a guy, Rob, the only MVP in Super Bowl history that wins the MVP of the game that didn't throw a touchdown pass, that didn't score a touchdown. Okay, now you might have some Namath bashers out there and says, well, then why did he win the MVP? It should have went to Matt Snell. Okay, he gained 100 yards and he scored a touchdown. Okay, but they don't realize that the other attributes are so strong. Your field generalship, your leadership, your toughness. Joe called every play in the Super Bowl. Okay, he was 17 for 23 in passing for over 200 yards. We wanted to light it up in the fourth quarter. Namath's like, they haven't stopped us the whole game. We're running the ball. And he kept handing. You think he's standing around saying, oh, I got to throw some touchdown passes to win MVP. He's not built that way. Team guy, wants to win. He handed it off to Snell the whole fourth quarter, and the rest is history.
Sauer, Sample, Maynard. I mean, the talent. You mentioned Snell, Boozer. This was a great football team. Weeb Ewbank, a great tactician. But Don Shula, who still is the winningest coach in the history of the NFL, unless Bill Belichick gets back in the NFL, right now it's Shula, they were an 18.5-point favorite. Johnny Unitas, Namath's childhood hero, the reason he wore number 19 in high school, met him at midfield, the coin toss, Babe Pirelli, Rochester, he, of course, the backup for Joe. I mean, the intangibles are unbelievable when you think about this game.
Oh, it really is. I mean, coming into the game, the Colts were considered the best team that they've seen in the last 10 years and maybe in the history of the NFL. The Colts were 13-1, okay? They won the NFL championship game 34-0 to get to the Super Bowl over Cleveland, all right? One of the greatest teams you've ever seen. Now, the Jets were very underrated, but Rob, their defense was good.
They were strong.
They had 5 interceptions that game. 5, okay? Their defense, Verlin Biggs, Jerry Philbin, Larry Grantham, Al Atkinson, Johnny Sample, Jim Hudson, Beverly, Beard, right down the line, I know them all, okay? These guys were good, okay? They played Oakland in the AFL championship game, and they gave up 23 points. Man, what a game that was. Oh, what a game. That was almost as good as the Super Bowl, that AFL championship game. And but anyway, Jets were underrated. Colts were overrated. You throw in Joe Willie with his play calling and his quick release, and Shula he couldn't do anything about it. Now Shula played for Weeb. Okay, Weeb always liked Shula. You know, he said he was going to be a great coach.
He was.
And he ended up being maybe the greatest ever, you know. But, you know, the Jets were underrated and everything, and it did change, but the Colts did what they wanted to do. They were rushing Joe. They were getting in on him if you watch the films of the game, but quick release, man.
And thus, all of the quarterbacks from Western Pennsylvania to follow, like Montana, like Kelly, Dan Marino, all because of this guy.
There's a progression in the position. You know, just like the point guard in basketball, how it changed through the years, where it went from a Bob Cousy 6 foot to like a quarterback was changing. Okay, in the late 40s, they started dropping back. You know, quarterbacks in the old days would just pitch to a halfback and a halfback would throw. Well, now you got Babe Pirelli at Kentucky, with Paul Bear Bryant dropping back, throwing the ball downfield, right? So the whole decade of the 50s, you have drop back quarterbacks now. Now you get to Joe in high school in 60, he took it to another level. Okay, he took it to a level that was like on steroids, okay? So then you got guys
that somebody wants Steve, we're recording.
Then you got guys that came after Joe that seen what he was doing. Montana, Marinos, Brady's, the guys like that. And it went from Pirelli to Namath to Montana to Marino. You see the progression all the way through.
Even though this gentleman came in and looking for Steve, he'll get to him in just a couple of minutes because I've got one more stop to make. Tell him you're going to be open for business for the public in April. Go ahead.
Oh, we're going to open the doors full. The place isn't open yet, okay? But we're going to open full time in April. We'll be open 3 days during the week, and we'll be open on Saturdays. And
that's okay.
It's going to be free admission. It's going to be a gift to the community. People are, after that, we're going to have pretty good hours. Like I say, 3 days during the week, and then on Saturdays, free admission. You come in and you can hang out here. You can listen to famous plays on the radio. You can watch highlights of Joe in high school. You can relax in our Ed Sondheimer Communications Center, look at scrapbooks, watch old films, look at pictures. I mean, you could just come in and hang out and suck in all the history you can take.
There's a lot of history here, and wherever you're watching this around the world, that's what's great about social media. Whether it's Namath, sports, tradition, what a manufacturing community was like during its heyday, what it is evolving into today, a great city, a lot of incredible things happening in Beaver Falls. This is the place that you want to put on your bucket list. It's a must stop. You're going to absolutely love it. But the last thing about Joe, we're so fortunate to have been a part of his life. And my childhood hero, the other, is Muhammad Ali, whose birthday is today. Joe was so big, when he had this television show in New York, it wasn't nothing for people like Muhammad Ali to stop by. Joe Namath is the reason why, kind of like what Arnie did in golf, he's the reason why quarterbacks in the NFL are making big money, meaning paychecks, and getting a lot of endorsement opportunities. I think name, image, and likeness, the quarterback, why some of them are staying in college. Can you imagine what he would have been offered if he was playing today when he was healthy, like when he played at Alabama? So this guy is a trendsetter, and he always makes time for Beaver County. He always talks about what Barry Bruno did for him. And he is a product of what we all are, a hardworking mill community where dad went to work and mom worked harder than everyone to keep it all together at home. And the reason he was so tenacious and tough and went through a lot of good and some not so good and survived it because of where he was raised.
Work ethic was very strong in this area. Many big, tough football players from this area. I mean, the college recruiters knew Beaver County, and Western PA in general, as a hotbed next to California, Texas. PA was like 3. Ohio was right there with us sometimes. Florida's kind of wedged in there in recent years. But PA, Western PA, was a hotbed of high school recruits for college football because of that work ethic you just mentioned.
As I say goodbye and get ready to head to see Mr. Bob Middleman, where Broadway Joe probably bought his first pair of new tennis shoes because they were around since 1954. And as you told me, I didn't realize that Joe grew up not too far from here.
6th Street.
By the
We're on
legendary,
12th Street now, so.
legendary Rainbow Room, where I always wanted to go. One time, the Rainbow Room. But can you imagine what the Corner Tavern and all of these bars were like? Up and down 7th Avenue, up to College Hill, West Mayfield, down by the 2 bridges. That night, when that young man from Beaver Falls was leading the New York Giants to an upset victory, an 18.5-point underdog against Baltimore. With this, it must have been electrifying.
One of the most exciting times of my childhood that I can remember without a doubt. The 70 championship basketball victory and the Super Bowl. Those were it. The town was just lit up like I've never seen it before or since.
So, in closing, I'm looking around and I see the 1961 WPIL baseball championship. We were talking earlier about Frank Chan, that 70 basketball team with Rudy B. Jackson, and all the other state championships. Ryan Nassif wins one in football. Where has the time gone? I mean, it's gone by so quickly. And to any young person who is still in the midst of it, embrace every minute of it because it goes by so quick.
That's why we do what we do here, Rob. That's why we preserve these memories, because it's worth preserving. The memories, the culture, what it was like in those days with the businesses, it's not just the steel mills, all the businesses that participated in those days. I mean, there were leagues in every sport that kids could participate in those days. And, you know, Beaver Falls was a great place to grow up. It really was.
Still a great place. And they've got some new stuff here. They've got a Beaver Falls leather sweater. They've got a St. Mary CYO jacket. I mean, see, these are the little things. We love Joe, but it's much more than that.
Oh.
And if Joe's doing what I'm doing, soon to be 68 and him a few years older, all the accomplishments that I did, network television, KDK radio, which is wonderful, 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 and why we do that Power of Bowser Friday night thing. Don't forget that Bowser dealership up there in Chippewa. Love Gary Bowser. Tonight we got Thomas Jefferson in action, and they're taking on Peters Township. And I had Coach Ehrman on the other night and Coach Don DeCiccio. He was talking about growing up in Baldwin, playing Sam Clancy, and Sam Clancy being interviewed by Jeff Hathorn. It's about just memories that you want to capture, like they've been able to capture with all that audio from those great play-by-play voices of Beaver County. And I was telling somebody this recently as well, where I did my play-by-play for 20 years. That radio station, it still exists, but it's not in town anymore, and it doesn't do the games anymore. I love the internet, I love social media, all of that stuff you can do with video and audio. But there's nothing like that radio station, like KDKA, bringing community together to give people a chance to latch onto those memories forever. And the great thing, I know the powers to be will have that sound moving on for future generations of KDK radio. But if you're in it, embrace every minute of it because it just goes by too quick.
Well, come here, listen to some plays,
That was
watch
really
some
cool.
videos.
That was really cool.
So
Can you still fit into your Letterman's jacket?
barely
What did you weigh?
170. Don't ask me what I weigh now.
Did you eat anything you wanted back?
Anything I wanted. I'd go to the Rio, I'd go to the Red Bull Inn right across the street.
Rio.
I'd go up to Domino and get a meatball sandwich anytime I wanted.
Good memories. Listen, I
PG
love.
pizza.
Yeah. Listen, you gonna get that sign?
I asked for it, I don't know if I'll get it.
Listen, they're still open. We love Lori. It's cool. Everything worked out. But Lori, look, we'll find a place. We want that sign.
Please don't close.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay right in Center Township. We need you. But Dave and Jean, kind of like all the cradle of football coaches, their pizza brand really is why a lot of people are doing what they're doing today. A lot of the pop-up ones and things that we were. I mean, they were all connected. You had Arts. You had Morel's.
B&B.
Yeah, they were all connected. And Pizza
Yeah.
Villa, Breezy's, They're all connected. All right, it's your Pratt Pack. Don't forget, back on the radio this weekend, and I'll be at Pirate Fest Sunday on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show. Saturday and Sunday open to the public. Dan Zangrilli will be there tomorrow at noon on KDK Radio. And of course, 93.7 The Fan, where there's always more sports at 93.7thefan.com. Good afternoon from the city of Beaver Falls and the magical coach, the Larry Bruno Foundation, with your Pratt